Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of the Anywhere Uni podcast. Tonight, I'm with Mane from ESADE, a very popular and I would say growing in popularity university destination for international students. So we are very excited to welcome her on the podcast. Hi, Mane. How are you doing?
Good evening, Alban. I'm doing excellent. Thank you very much. And good evening, everyone who's here today. And thank you for inviting us. I'm excited and hopefully I will give information that's helpful and useful.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to this conversation and to always get updates and little details that you are very helpful usually when you support students looking at destinations. That I would say ESADE is a name that I hear more and more every year. So it's good that we're very happy to have you. So before we dive in, can you tell us a bit about your background? For how long have you been with ESADE, and what's your relationship with the school?
Right. And I have been in higher education since pretty much, I think, 2018. And with ESADE, it's been already 3 years. And I joke sometimes, with my friends that I hope I will retire at ESADE. We'll see. There is a long time to get there. So yes, I have worked previously at some other universities, but always with this focus on business education. So this is my area. And now at ESADE also I focus on bachelor's programs. So I work specifically with the younger generation of ESADE, those who are applying to our bachelor's degree programs.
Well, that's great. We also help these students that are just before they get to you. So that's perfect.
Hiring generation.
Yeah, exactly. So can you present ESADE a little bit, like in the Spanish, higher education system? I know the university is affiliated with the school, is affiliated with a university. So how does it work? What's the relationship and what's the placement of ESADE?
Right. ESADE is a business and law school as such, and ESADE was founded in 1958. So it's a university that comes with tradition, and it does indeed function under the umbrella of Universidad Ramon Llull. I will not go too much into the details, but I'll just say that this is quite common in Spain, especially because why it's relevant specifically to the applicants. Let's say when you are a business school, you would not be able to give university degrees. You're giving school degrees, and often many degrees from specific business schools are not accepted by certain governments, etc. In our case, we are able to offer, the highly prestigious degrees of ESADE. ESADE has all the independence to function the way it wants and offer the kind of business and legal education that it wants. And at the same time, we're offering Bachelors of Sciences, state-accredited Bachelors of Sciences. This is the highest category bachelor's degree that you can obtain. And part of it is thanks to being affiliated with a state-accredited university. So these degrees are valid everywhere in the world, accepted by governments, by every kind of universities. So besides other reasons that, as I said, probably doesn't make sense to go too much into the details, I think this is a relevant point also to understand when you see some other business schools affiliated with universities in Spain.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's actually a great thing to be state accredited at the same time. For international students, it definitely can only help to have more accreditation and when they're looking at being mobile afterwards. All right, and so where are you located in Spain, and what's your campus like?
We have campuses in Barcelona, 2 campuses in Barcelona, and 1 campus in Madrid. But let's put aside the campus in Madrid because we don't teach any bachelor's programs there, okay? Let's focus on the 2 campuses in Barcelona. One of them is based in Pedralbes district of Barcelona, and this is where we have the law faculty. Here, the student profile is mostly local students or native Spanish speakers. And although the kind of education in the law faculty that we offer still has this strong international focus, but we teach these programs both in Spanish and English. Okay, so the student profile in this campus is a bit different. And then we look at the Sant Cugat campus. This is our international campus. This is where we have the business faculty. All of our programs are taught 100% in English here, with the exception of the BBA that starts, some sections of the BBA start in Spanish and then switch to 100% in English. And here on average, depending on the program, 80% of the students are from abroad.
80%. Wow.
A very vibrant international environment. And yes, these are pretty much the differences of the campuses. Also, this is the campus where we have the concentration of student associations, for example. Sant Cugat is quite an upscale area right next to Barcelona. It's very safe, it's green, high quality of life, and transportation is really easy with Barcelona. So many students choose to live in Barcelona and commute to the campus or live in Sant Cugat.
Even in the first year, you would say, what do students tend to do in the first year? Can they get housing on campus, or is it not really a thing?
We have a student residence on campus, right? Like in the background of this photo, almost. However, this residence has only around 180 rooms, so it's not enough for everyone who wants to stay there. Okay. Usually they are fully booked by March, depending on the year. So if you manage to get a room at the residence, of course, it's nice, especially for students who are not yet 18 years old. This gives some time to the parents. So this is nice. However, if that doesn't work, it's not the end of the world. Sometimes we see the students quite worried about this, But first, there are other options. We give a lot of support to the students. We give information that they can use to find accommodation for rent or student residences. There are like 40 student residences in Barcelona. So it's a city that's prepared for students. Okay. That's one thing. The other concern that we hear from the students is that if they don't live on campus, they might be missing out on student life. And that's not exactly the case, because ESADE is not a school where you come twice a week. It's a university where you have to be present Monday till Friday, pretty much most of your day. That means that you're already spending a lot of time with other students. If you're also part of some student associations, you end up staying there longer during the day. So you're not missing out on student life if you don't stay on campus, okay? And there are different options. Also, somewhere in May, early June, we normally create WhatsApp groups and let the students connect. So quite early on, the students are able to connect with their classmates and look for apartments together. This is quite common. So this covered the accommodation part. There are different options, and Barcelona, thankfully for now, although it has some accommodation related issues, but unfortunately it mostly affects the local people who need long-term rentals, let's say. But when it comes to the offering to international students, it's pretty well covered, I would say.
Okay. Well, That's great. Thank you very much. So let's dive a bit into your undergraduate offer. You already mentioned the BBA, you mentioned law. So can you do law fully in English, or does it have to be on the other campus, both in Spanish and English?
Yes, so the law faculty, for us, this is international, the kind of education our students in the law programs get is international education. However, the law part we teach in Spanish, and we require very high level of native level Spanish. Okay, so you can't really apply to these programs if you don't have the right level of Spanish language.
Would you be able to apply if you get like a C1 level, for example? Or...
Yes. Every year we have these, one or two geniuses who manage to, because they have been passionate, because, it requires grit and dedication. And yes, every year we have some, gems who will show up and prove us that they can do it. And of course, we are more than happy to admit them. It happens, but most of the students are, also students who live in Spain with, other cultural backgrounds. This is also common. So I'm not talking about only Spanish students, okay? Also can be Latin American students applying to the law programs. We do have one program that belongs to our law faculty, and we teach it at the business faculty. It's a superpower this program has. They get to benefit from it all that ESADE offers. It's our Bachelor in Global Governance, Economics, and Legal Order.
Yeah.
It's not exactly a law program. Obviously, if you want to become a lawyer, maybe it's best to do a program in law, okay? Mm-hmm. But it is a program that belongs to the law faculty and has a lot of legal aspects in it. But mostly it's a program in international relations, economics, and politics.
All right. So what else do you have? So you have that program in law. We talked about it. That program that's managed by the Faculty of Law within your business campus, fully offered in English, but it's not quite a full bachelor in law where you can mix international relations. And so what else do you have on offer in English?
Yes. Looking at the programs, 100% in English. Yeah. Bachelor in Business Administration, mm-hmm. flagship program of ESADE. We've been teaching this since forever. It is ranked #1 in Spain, one of the best in the world. Then we have a bachelor double degree of the same Bachelor in Business Administration program, together with the Bachelor in Global Governance, Economics, and Legal Order, the one I mentioned before. And another double degree of the BBA, together with artificial intelligence business. Okay, so these are the double degrees. Then we also have a bachelor's degree in business that's called Bachelor in Transformational Leadership and Social Impact. And this is, I would say, as much business as the BBA, right? But this is very much focused on bringing the students who are restless and want to change the world to the better. This program is very much in line with ESADE's values, ESADE's mission, So here we bring students who want to go into business to use it as a tool for transforming something in the business world, let's say, in the society.
Well, that's great. Okay, thank you very much. That's clear, very clear. And so within these, my first question would be, how long are these undergraduate programs? Because in Europe, you find sometimes 3 years, sometimes 4 years. And if you do a dual bachelor degree, so how long would these be?
Mm-hmm. So the programs where you get one degree, those last 4 years. And the programs that are double degrees last 5 years. Now, 5 years might sound a lot, but it is quite a good deal, I would say. You do get 2 full bachelor's degrees. In one of the programs, you're able to do an entire year of an exchange abroad, 2 exchanges abroad. Plus, in all of the programs, an internship is mandatory. Okay, so if you think about it, let's say the Bachelor in Business Administration, it's a 4-year degree. You spend the first 3 years in Barcelona. You set your roots. This is also nice, by the way. One of the strengths at ESADE is the spirit of community. And this is partially, builds things to this, that they are together during these years. And then the final year, they pretty much fly out. They go do their exchange abroad. They do an internship, which can also be done in Spain, by the way. But it can be done abroad too, if they wish so.
Okay.
So that include an internship, an exchange, international, exposure, traveling.
Yeah, exactly. In some other places, it's 3 years, but then if you want to do all these experiences, you have to extend it to 4 years anyway. You can say it's 4 years for everyone, but then you get everything and you get that experience right away.
And Alban, let's be serious. Which one of us has ever complained about having spent too many years on our
Exactly. These were the best years, so why not a bit longer?
Opportunity, it's only a bonus.
Yeah. All right. That's very helpful. Thank you very much. All right. So if we look at, before we dive into the application process and the selection process, what is it like to study at ESADE? Like, what does a typical week kind of looks like? Like, how many contact hours in class? What's the intensity of work? Is the first year very difficult? There's some university systems where the first year is very difficult and some students are not going to pass. There's some other universities that are more selective to get in, but then once you're in, the goal is for everyone to kind of progress all the way. Right. What's kind of the academic experience for a student there?
The latter is more our case. We are, I don't want to say small, but, our programs are pretty small. If you think about it, the maximum number of students is around 75 students in a class. So we are highly selective. And we do that also to make sure that those students that come to ESADE are happy, are enjoying the challenging academic experience they are getting, and they successfully graduate. And we will give them all the support needed throughout those 4 or 5 years. But that's why the selection process is quite rigorous at ESADE, the admission. I guess we'll get back to this later, but I'll focus on what it is to be a student at ESADE. So yes, we do kind of, select the students one by one. We have a real admissions committee. We don't have this automatic admissions process, So we go through each profile to get to know them, their interests, the kind of activities that interest them. And then when they are at ESADE, there is this really positive spirit at ESADE, I would say. This is thanks to the values that ESADE stands for. And what we try to bring to the students is a collaborative spirit over competitive, okay? Competition is great, but we're aware we're bringing quite strong students on campus, and they all are going to succeed. Statistically, we can see that. So we're working a lot on this. We give them, whether it's through the methodology of learning, such as, group works, there is a lot of teamwork. At ESADE, they are exposed to a lot of teamwork. The student associations, there is this nice collaborative spirit. Everyone, you compete with yourself, but people around you are your partners. You collaborate with them. This is wise not only for, personal reasons, but also we are a business school. So networking is important, right? And these students are each other's first network, let's say. So from day one of their studies, we want them to see that. We want them to learn about that. And if you knew what our alumni community does, you would know what I mean, because they stay connected after graduating. We have a really powerful alumni community, and we believe it is thanks to that. During their studies, they learned how to, partner with each other, how to support each other, how to push each other forward, collaborate, and of course the way that we teach. So speaking of how much time they spend at ESADE, we do offer the maximum teaching hours during the week. On average, they spend at least 5 hours at ESADE every day. And that involves a combination of a rigorous academic process, okay, but also a really hands-on, highly practical methodology of learning. So all these hours they are spending at ESADE are not spent only on listening to lectures. No, they also have that, of course, but they spend many hours every day on those case studies, on doing individual and group research. They have throughout the year challenges to solve given by real companies. We have a whole, network of labs at ESADE.
Yeah, I've seen that because I visited ESADE like 2 years ago, and I was very impressed with all your facilities to help support ideas of startups and entrepreneurs, students that have all these ideas, and yeah, it's kind of amazing to have that on site when you are that kind of student that wants to innovate, wants to create, and
absolutely,
yeah.
Yes, and they flourish. We see that happen because there is so much given. It's impossible to take everything that ESADE gives. It's a lot. So when the students, are proactive, when they jump for opportunities, they can gain a lot. They can gain and learn a lot at ESADE. That's not limited to just classroom teaching, let's say.
All right. So now let's dive into the application process. You said ESADE is very selective. You kind of carefully, select the students and look at each profile. So what do you look at? Some countries will only look at the transcript and will only look at grade 11 and grade 12. Some will only look at grade 10 and grade 11. Some will also look at a standardized test. Some will have a motivation letter or an interview. What are the different bricks that you use to select your students?
All of that. We do all of that. But of course, some areas have a higher weight. We don't separate by percentages of what's more important and what's less important, but we look at the school performance of the students from grade 9 until 12. So
okay, like in the US, the whole high school experience.
And this gives us a good idea of the, trajectory of the student, how they've been doing over these years. And then we also have the admission test, which can either be the ESADE admission test or SAT or ACT. We do accept SAT and ACT also.
Would you have any advice on that? How to choose? Like, should students do an SAT just for ESADE if they're not applying to the US? Or then would you recommend to maybe take the ESADE test? Like, what would be your...
If the students are not planning to use the SAT on other applications, I would say it doesn't make sense to do the SAT just for ESADE, because our test for us is as valid. We don't have, we don't put differentiation between the tests. We don't have preference between the tests. All of them are equally valid. ACT is not as common as SAT, but it's as valid for us. Okay, so The difference here is the following. If you have, SAT exams are not happening every week like the ESADE tests. So if you have to wait for the next SAT exam, which is in 2 months, I don't know, doesn't make much sense. Just do the ESADE admission test because you can do that next week.
And can you do it multiple times, the ESADE test, or do you do it when you apply and that's it for that round and that academic year?
You get one chance.
One chance.
You get one chance. If there has been some, technical issue that has not been flagged as suspicious, let's say, we will sometimes give the students opportunity to do the test again, another test, obviously. But otherwise, you get only one chance at the test.
Okay. So for students that are kind of preparing grade 11 and already in that mindset, they could try the SAT, see how that goes, and then...
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but you also have to consider that the ESADE admission test is not an exam. They will not fail or pass it. And to give you a bit of a better idea about, this process, we do value, in the context, right? We do value the high school performance a bit more than the test scores. Why? Because we are looking at 4 years of, of academic achievement of the students. Whereas the test, the exams, these are exams and it's good. We want to see balance, ideally, between all the areas of the application. Profile, academic achievements from school, and the admission test. But if we see an incredible admission test score, but the school performance was not, what we're looking for, that's not going to help, let's say.
Okay. And do you have a ballpark of kind of where the grades have to be for an IB student or a French bac student, an SAT score? Like, do you have a range that kind of where students start to be competitive, or?
Yes. With IB, it's a minimum of 32 out of 42. But then again, this is to help, okay? This is to give an idea of
a minimum.
What you need to start being competitive. And then we have to see how the year goes, how many applications we have for each program. So a lot will depend on the competition. For French bac, the minimum is 14 out of 20, but again, quite competitive here. Okay, we do have many students applying from France. So every year I have observed that it's getting more and more competitive there. So having higher scores definitely helps.
All right. And for the SAT, do you have a kind of an idea? Same thing?
We do say that we don't have a minimum required score, but at the end of the day, if I see a low score, I do recommend the students to take the ESADE admission test, strengthen their candidates. We allow that. Okay. And the average score last year was around 1,380 of admitted students. This is the average. Then a bit lower than that, a bit higher than that. And we've seen it's also a cultural thing sometimes. In certain countries, they really prepare for SAT exams, and in others not. So we are aware of this too.
That's good.
But yes, the average 1,380, okay, 350 is okay also. But not to get obsessed with this, because as I said, if we see the score is a bit low, we will allow them to do the ESADE admission test.
Okay, great. Do you also need an English language test?
Yes, but it can be done through our test or through SAT. For example, if the reading and writing part in SAT is 650, for us, that's a waiver. Okay. Also, the ESADE admission test has a section in English. So those students who don't have a language certificate, we give them this part of we give them this opportunity to prove their language skills. And then native speakers get a waiver, certain education systems that are taught fully in English. We have different ways. The level that we require is, if we take IELTS, it would be a 7.
Okay.
The bachelor's degrees. TOEFL 100.
Okay, that's kind of the.
But again, no need to wait for getting a certificate in order to apply, because, as I said, there are other ways. Yes.
Okay, great. So you mentioned, like the grade 9 to grade 12 is very important, and the test as well, a bit less important, but also part of the picture. And then you talk about the personal side. So how do you evaluate that? Is it essays, recommendation letters, CVs? Like what pieces do you take to evaluate the student outside of the academics?
Yes, we don't ask for recommendation letters. Okay. We don't ask for CVs. We have an application that includes questions, and through those essay questions, we are able to learn about the candidates. They can be about their motivations, their goals for the future, what inspires them, what are they busy with, hobbies, interests, awards, achievements, competitions they have participated in. So we do get a lot of information from the students, but yes, no need for a CV, because we're working with 17, 18-year-olds. We don't expect them to have a CV yet. We will help them build that, but we don't ask for that for the admission process.
Okay. And so when you have all that, do you just take everything and look at everything? Do you have an interview or not afterwards?
There is one program where we have an official interview. It's the Bachelor in Transformational Leadership and Social Impact.
Okay.
Because this is a very profile-focused program. Here we are literally, it doesn't matter how great your grades are, or, you might be an athlete or won a lot of achievements and awards. If you don't match with the program, if your profile doesn't match with the program, we can't admit. That's why the interview is necessary for this program. But we don't have official interviews for the other programs. However, we always approach the students, the candidates, and we try to talk to them via video calls before presenting them to the admissions committee. This helps us to, understand a bit better what we learned through their profiles. But these are not official interviews, these calls, okay? Now, once we have everything complete in the application, the next step is bringing the candidates to the admissions committee. And this is a group of people where there are the academic directors of the programs, the head of admissions, and us, the associate directors of admissions. And there the final decisions are made, because we then present the candidates to the committee and make a final decision. Then we normally publish the decisions on the same day or within a couple of days. So the process can be a bit lengthy before the committee, because we do have to make sure we receive everything that helps us to make a decision. But once we present the candidates to the committee, then it's done. We then publish the decisions normally on the same day.
All right, great. 2 little extra questions I kind of forgot to mention. Do you have specific subject requirement in high school? Like, for example, in a French bac, do you need to have the math specialty both in grade 11 and grade 12? Could you do the math complémentaire in grade 12? In the IB, is there a math level that you wouldn't accept? Like, are there any subject requirements?
Very important question, Alban. Indeed, we are a rather math-focused business school. Let's put it that way. We do have quite strong requirements when it comes to math, and indeed also subject requirements. I will give you some updates on this later, but for now, yes, for the French bac, for example, math specialty suits all our business programs. When it's complémentaire, I'm sorry for my pronunciation, could never make friends with this word. then there can be some, limitations, especially with the bachelor in BBA and Artificial Intelligence for Business, which is the most math-focused program. Okay, we have some programs that do not have specific math requirements. So usually we work directly with the students with this and we help them understand. With IB, of course, yes, if it's an AI standard level, again, we're talking about some limitations depending on the AI standard level is not enough for the bachelor in BBA and Artificial Intelligence business. So it depends, but good news, okay? We are working on a math exam.
Okay.
Yes, fingers crossed, hopefully it comes this academic year. We are very meticulous with this, so it's still work in progress, but hopefully it will allow us to, be able to take applications from all candidates for all programs, because then they will be able to do the exam, and if they reach the required points, then it doesn't matter what math subject they have at school. We will allow them to be admitted to those programs, because for now imagine when we speak of IB, French bac, these are easy for us. Okay? We know these systems, right? But then we have so many education systems represented at ESADE. And all those education systems that are not, hundreds of applications, let's say, we request the schools to send us the math syllabus, and our math department evaluates them. And then they decide whether we can move on with the student or not. This is how we have been working for many years now. So that exam will help, especially the students. We will, be able to free them from evaluating syllabus of mathematics subjects from school. It's the high school, by the way. I'm talking about grades 11 and 12. Okay, we don't go into the earlier years math subjects.
Okay, great. And so in terms of the timing, when does the application kind of opens? When does it closes? When would you recommend to submit? Do you need to have a first kind of term of official grades in grade 12 before you apply? What would be your advice?
This is quite crucial because indeed we do open the admissions process quite early. In August, the applications are already open for the next academic year. So technically the students can start applying from August. Then the first admissions committee normally is held somewhere in November, depending on the year. Okay, so the first students that can get admissions, it will happen in November. And from there on, it's a weekly process. Starting from January, we hold admissions committees on a weekly basis. Now, the spots are limited in our programs, and sometimes some programs are full in April, sometimes in May, sometimes end of March. It depends on the program, depends on the year. This is a bit unpredictable. So because of this, we always encourage the students to apply early. They have an opportunity to apply early. But of course, we also have to consider the documentation we need for the evaluation, because we do look at the final year academic performance, right? Now, when it's IB, A-levels, we consider the predicted grades. For other education systems that don't have predicted grades, we do need to see the first term or first semester transcripts from that academic year. And then it's progressive. If the students are applying in April, May, we will ask for, in addition, we will also ask for second term or anything that's available at that moment.
So potentially a student in the French bac system where there would be semester where they only get their first semester kind of official grades in like January, if the school establishes predicted grades, they could apply with that a bit earlier.
We don't normally do that
No?
because that would mean the school is creating something that's not, for all students, let's say.
Unless it is some.
Unless it is, yes,
Yeah.
exactly. If it's in rare
the
cases,
process.
we had situations where we did consider, because it always depends, right? Also on the applicant, the relevance of the grades, compared to the previous year. That's not a regular practice, but we are open to looking at. Transparency has to be always present, and the criteria has to be the same for all
Everyone.
applicants. But we are open. We have admitted students with predicted grades from education systems that don't have usually predicted grades when it made sense for the admissions committee.
All right, perfect. I think that's everything we need to know. Quick question on the tuition fees. Do you have different level of tuition fee based on passport or residency, or is it the same for everyone? Are there scholarships? Like, how does it work?
Yes, it's the same for everyone. So it's the tuition fees are between 19,900 euros to 22,900 euros, depending on the programs. And we do have a very generous scholarship project. We actually have two types of grants. One is the academic merit grant, which is offered based on the student's academic performance. And here, the grades have to be 90% out of 100% in the student's education system. We do the interpretation and all that, so that's not a problem. In this case, the students can receive 25% for the first year, or 50 or 75% for the first 2 years. Quite generous. This is our way of telling the students, you did very well at school, well done. Here is an award to you, okay? But the students have to apply for it. It's not automatic, just to make it clear. Then comes the need-based scholarship. This is called the ESADE Talent Scholarship. Here we look at the academic performance. In this case, we ask for 85% plus demonstrated financial need. And the scholarships can cover between 60 to 100% of the tuition, plus lodging, plus living. We have students who come with everything covered. And the average scholarship given last year covered, the average was 84% of the tuition of the students. So for us, this is something very close to our hearts. ESADE has quite ambitious goals related to the scholarships, because every year we want to increase the number of students that come with a scholarship. And the scholarships are big scholarships. They are not, like hundreds of little scholarships, but rather the kind of scholarship that changes a life, because otherwise these talented, brilliant students would not be able to come to ESADE, let's say.
That's great.
We're very, very, very excited about the scholarship, I must say. It gives us a lot of happiness every year.
Yeah, it's great. Great to hear. All right, I think it's about time to wrap up. What would be your kind of maybe final advice for a 15, 16-year-old student, dreaming about studying abroad, looking at English-speaking options all across Europe, thinking about ESADE? What would be your advice?
My advice would be wise, okay? You will not go back to grade 9, 10, 11, 12 again. Try to learn what your dreams are, and not only because each dream has a price. So if you're dreaming big, try to learn what's the price you have to pay for realizing that dream. And then work for that, because that's what happens. We do, we work with students that end up choosing, okay, because they come with they work very hard during school years, and then it's them choosing which university to go to, because they will be admitted to almost everywhere they apply to. Yes, so ambition, being goal driven, these are things that help. So only dreaming about something sometimes, unfortunately, is not enough. And I try to transmit this to the children of my family. So this is something I try to always explain to teenagers, let's say.
Yeah, it's good to dream big, but you also have to take action.
Exactly. Yes. And a more practical tip, if you're thinking of going into business education in the future at a top business school, make sure you choose mathematics wisely, because I promise you, all good top business schools are going to find that an important area of your application.
Yeah, that sounds my battle every day. You're preaching to the choir.
Right.
All right. Thank you so much, Mane, for your time and your expertise.
Thank you very much. And thanks everyone for being here and listening to us. I wish everyone a nice evening, and hopefully some of you, will be able to help in their admissions process.
Thank you very much, everyone. And we'll see you soon on another episode of the Anywhere Uni live podcast.